And young people are the solutions for tomorrow. Young people are the solutions for all the worries. And young people, if you stay with them, you will be full of energetic. But the advice I give to the young people is that also the advice I give to myself, that nothing is easy. Nothing is free. If you want to be successful, you have to future. If you 20 to 30 years old, please find a good boss, not necessarily a good company. Learn from the boss, learn how to do it. When you are 30 to 40 years old, try to do something yourself if you really want to try. When you're 40 to 50 years old, do things that you are good at. After 20 years of learning, you should do something you're good at. When you're 50 to 60 years old, spend your time supporting young people. When you are over 60 years old, spend time with your grandchildren. That is normally a lot of people like that. When you are graduate, when you just in the university, don't think about, I want to resign from the school and be another Bill Gates, because Bill Gates left Harvard. There's only one Bill Gates in the world. When you graduate, find a company. Most important, find a good boss that can train you, discipline you, tell you what is good and right. It's more important than a good company. Of course, a good company, a good boss, even better. And then continue your life. It's all about the partner.
This was Jack Ma, my favorite billionaire from China. He said, and I quote, "Young people are solution for everything." Jack Ma himself is a perfect example of when people fail, and finally get success, come what may. Today, in the series for Kashmir, we will talk about youth and society. The question is, what is a society and how do we build one, and what are our individual responsibilities? Hey guys, I'm your host Majid, and I welcome you to another podcast episode of Plain Talk. We have two special guests today, Majid Hyderi, who is a journalist, TV debater, and a strategist. We also have Bilal Bashir Bhat, a journalist and an activist. Let's welcome Majid Hyderi first. Majid Hyderi, thank you so much for being with me on Plain Talk. It's really an honor to have you on my show.
Well, same here, Muzammil Saab, same here. It's an honor to be on your show as well. You have started a new initiative, which is giving a new dimension to everything with regard to Kashmir. So we appreciate this endeavor with regard to Kashmir, that you have started this podcast.
Thank you so much. Mr. Hyderi, let me start with my first question. So this podcast is related to youth and the seriousness and the responsibilities we have on our shoulders. How do you see the seriousness of youth, today's youth, towards shouldering their responsibilities in raising social issues?
Well, see, Muzammil, it depends how you look at the social issues. Which are your dimensions of social issues? What do you describe as social issues? And then we can say whether the youth are serious towards the social issues, or they simply trying to be away from that or whatever. But it firstly depends on how you decide and describe the social issues. So what would be your kind of definition to social issues?
Anything wherein we sort of raise the society, we build the society, we build the collective narratives of tomorrow, wherein we can say, yes, this is what we want for our youth, this is what we want for our society, and this is the positive paradigm we are setting for our future generations.
See, the youth of Kashmir, I would say, it is a bit not that much concerned about the social issues. It could be some minuscule this population of the youth who are into concern towards the social issues. But the point is that the majority of youth in Kashmir, I don't find them concerned towards the society or the social issues, because the biggest issue as of now is with regard to youth is that of the drug menace, and many of our youth are falling prey into that menace. So how can we say that youth are concerned? Had the youth been concerned, there would not have been much of drug addiction, at least in Kashmir, because Kashmir is essentially a Muslim dominated society, and
Absolutely.
Islam prohibits this drug addiction and the sorts of this menace. So that way youth are not connected. Then the second point is that you have too much of unemployment in Kashmir. We have some more than 3 lakh youth, educated youth, who
True.
are unemployed. That is one point. Then this too comes somehow gets linked to the social perspective of the society. Now,
Hmm.
why do we have so much of unemployment in Kashmir? It's not only because that we don't have government jobs or we don't have private sector. The youth in Kashmir are even not interested to carry forward their own legacy of what we would say as the traditional works. The youth of
Related to our
today
culture
are,
and heritage.
yes, which is related, exactly, which is related to cultural heritage and other aspects. See, if we have a mason in Kashmir, we would
Hmm.
traditionally have masons and carpenters. I'm just quoting an example to you.
True.
The
True.
masons and carpenters, they had been learning this trade from their ancestors, and there was a kind of a knowledge transfer in this community. But
Hmm.
today, the son of mason is not willing to work as a mason. And the
Absolutely.
result is that
Absolutely.
you have this skilled labor coming into Kashmir from the rest of the country. We every year
True.
get some more than 3 lakh people who come from other parts of India, who come from UP, who come from Haryana, Tamil Nadu, everywhere, Bihar,
True.
Bengal. From those places the youth come to work in Kashmir and earn their livelihood much better than what they would earn in rest of the country, and then they take back that money for their families. But we have a problem in Kashmir that our youth is not willing to do that job. Our youth is jobless essentially because of his shyness even towards his culture. We have the handicraft, this craft dying. We have carpet weaving craft dying in Kashmir. We often see stories, the dying carpet industry, the dying shawl industry, the dying handicraft industry, the dying walnut industry. Everything with regard to Kashmir and its culture, we come up with a title, dying
True.
industry. Why is
Absolutely.
it dying?
Absolutely.
It is dying because our ancestors or that generation was ready to work. They loved that work and they carried on with their legacy for so many generations. Since when Shah Hamdan had brought this all these skilled crafts and skilled work to Kashmir. But now
Hmm.
the new generation is not willing to do that.
True.
Today, you must have seen that in the latest, we have one exceptional story that a government employee, a woman, she too is a millennial. She has
Hmm.
started, she's basically engineer by qualification, doing a government job. She has
Hmm.
started to revive pottery. Now, why
Absolutely.
do
Yeah.
we say revival of pottery? We call her Kralakur, means a girl who is into this pottery, a
Hmm.
potter girl.
Hmm. Hmm.
Why has she got this name Kralakur? Because she is trying to revive. Now, what does revival mean? Revival means you don't have pottery anymore in Kashmir.
True. True.
So you look at any aspect of Kashmir, the youth are not ready to carry forward that legacy in any of the aspects. Because when you talk about society, society evolves from its cultural traditions.
Hmm.
But today, you quote any example of any dimension of the society, youth are not going that way. Yes,
I
Bilal.
totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. Before I move on to before I move on to next question related to your profession, the journalism you are into, I just wanted to know, how do you, if you could jot down, 5 to 6 points, what should, what we can do so that the seriousness towards reviving our culture, the arts and crafts we have here, what we can do, if you could point out, few things.
See, there has to be a campaign for the revival of
Mm-hmm.
the dying heritage.
Mm-hmm.
We can't blame government for the dying heritage. We can't blame
Absolutely.
New Delhi or Islamabad for the dying heritage. It is only because of the kind of a mental this situation which the people felt in the last 30 years that now you are no more interested towards those things.
True.
Everything which used to be a household name is now like an artifact. You don't find those things in the world now. So there is a
True.
need for a campaign. It has to come through some kind of a support from government, I would say. Sorry to say this
Hmm.
because this is tradition and government doesn't need to. But it is I would say people need to cut a sorry figure for this, that we need government support to revive our own cultural traditions or whatever it's related to society. But at the
I
moment there is a need of
true.
NGOs coming forward. There is a need of
Absolutely.
mass scale of campaigning with regard to this on every front, not only with regard to handicraft. about
Hmm.
other aspects of life, about livelihood, about earning, about doing something, about how you grow society into a healthy society.
True,
The
true,
biggest menace
true,
as of now is even drug abuse. So why
true.
are we having this drug abuse on such alarming level in Kashmir?
Hmm.
So
That
actually,
is a
this
question to
all
ponder
is
upon.
interconnected.
True,
Your
true.
alienation from your culture, your inclination towards drug abuse, this everything is linked to the last 30 years of the mental situation in Kashmir.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I see UNESCO playing a very important role into this. Let's move on to my next question. This is related to your profession since you have been a celebrated journalist, in the Valley. Do you feel the majority of journalists are only limited to the PRs rather than being the voice of society? Because there is a responsibility, which we have to carry on individually, you, me, and everyone else.
Yes, Muzammil, this is a very, very important question. Rather, the best question in this session till now, I would say. See,
Thank you.
we journalists have not been, largely when we talk of we journalists, I mean, there could be some exceptionals, but the
Hmm.
larger section is that we are not doing justice with our job. As
Hmm.
you rightly said, PR is different from news making. Journalist job is
Absolutely.
opinion in news making, which is not at all linked to PR. But what
True.
is happening as of now is that journalism has been more into PR.
Hmm.
Sometimes with regard to the, sometimes to appease the government, sometimes to appease the bureaucrats, sometimes to appease some concerned quarters, political quarters, whatever. But for the last 30 years, journalism in Kashmir is largely evolving into as a tool of PR. Because even the
Absolutely.
constitution says, the Press Council of India says that the day journalists don't criticize government or the establishment, that is supposed to be the saddest day of Indian democracy.
True.
So
True.
essentially and basically, the job of journalist is to criticize and only criticize the government for its wrongdoings. Because journalists are like
Absolutely.
watchdogs who keep a watch and then they highlight the negatives of the government.
Hmm.
Highlighting the positives or whatever the good deeds is not the job of journalists. It is to be done by the concerned authorities through government only. That is not the job of journalists. That is how we describe and decide about the press status in the country. It is not me saying it. It is the Press Council of India chairperson having said this.
True. 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 Uh, well, I just wanted to add something more to this question. What would be your take on the fake journalists and the Facebook pages we see day in and day out, who are on forefront to promote non-entities?
See, I'm tired of this issue now. I have been highlighting this issue that if the government is so concerned that government and types books a journalist for doing his genuine duty, but the government has been silent over this menace of social media journalism. I
True.
mean, the
True.
right to freedom of expression, Article 19 of Indian Constitution, is being badly misused, more so in Jammu and Kashmir. And I wonder why the government, especially police, their cyber cell, etc., are
Hmm.
silent over this nuisance. This is not news. This is nuisance now.
True.
You have
True.
anybody or everybody who has a mobile, he's supposed to be a journalist now because he can shoot with a camera, he can take your
Hmm.
bite, and that is how journalism
Hmm.
is being taken as of now in Kashmir. And
Hmm.
journalism through this sinister design is actually losing its relevance in Kashmir.
True. True. Absolutely. And before we say goodbye, I just wanted to add. I just wanted to focus on the first question again. The last part I said, what would be the modus operandi to bring seriousness among youth? Again, I just want to point out in this, seriousness in youth in raising any sort of societal issues we have.
See,
What would be the modus operandi?
firstly, there is a need of a this dedication towards this issue from the side of government because to
Great.
run any such campaign, you will need funding, and that is what the government needs to give to some genuine, legitimate NGOs, not those who are minting money. That is point number one.
Hmm.
Point number
Hmm.
two is that the upbringing of kids, because youth decide about their mental instinct, their mental outlook, essentially from what they have learned in their
True.
families.
True.
The upbringing matters. So the parental
Hmm.
upbringing has also changed in the last 30 years. We need to change that. And then schools can also play a role.
True. True.
Because when we would study in schools, our schools would teach us social inclinations, social relations, everything with regard to society. There is one
Absolutely.
there is one very interesting anecdote about Tendal Bisco School that once our seniors, our super seniors, had gone for Zabarwan climb, and then they had forgotten to collect the garbage they had left there after
Mm-hmm.
their trekking to that spot. And then once they reached Pari Mahal, which is some 7-10 kilometers downhill from that
Away
point,
from the,
in
yes,
the evening,
absolutely.
some students said, "Sir, we have kept the garbage there only," and all the students had to go back to that point. So
Wow,
that is how the schools had been into upbringing, and also the
absolutely.
parents. Kashmir had a different societal structure.
Mm-hmm.
There was it is predominantly a male dominated society, and the head of the family or the head of the locality would be taken as a revered figure, which is not happening now. We have lost
Mm-hmm.
the social values in the last 30 years, and it has to start from three fronts. One, I said, a campaign from government, a campaign from schools and colleges, where
True.
you need to revive this, and then the parental upbringing. That has been the biggest challenge in the last 30 years. You don't have good parental upbringing. That is why you have this drug abuse into, you have that mobile high speed driving, right? Stunt biking, sorry, you call it stunt biking. You
Mm-hmm.
have all
Mm-hmm.
this nuisance in the society because you have a bad parental upbringing. I'm sorry to say this.
True, true. I totally agree with you. And before we go, one last question to you. How do you see, mohalla communities and, the local masjid communities, playing role into, any sort of upbringing for our youth?
This is really good. This is really good. Uh, this needs to be revived. The problem
Mm-hmm.
is that we have lost the values. That is why I said a locality had some elderly from the locality. He would be a revered figure. Now we don't have
True.
revered figures in locality because everybody tends
Absolutely.
to be a revered figure in his own or in her
By
own
default.
self.
True.
That is
That's right.
point number. But yes, masjid as an institution, what you call in English as mosque, the masjid as an
Mm-hmm.
institution has always been there for the Muslim society for the last 14 over 1400 years. But in the last 30
True.
years, we are losing even the hold of the masjid communities on the localities. That has been the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And that has also to do something with the migration of people from different localities who don't have those traditional localities. Now it's a kind of a cosmopolitan Kashmiri culture where people from
Absolutely.
north, people from south have migrated from here and there and there. And so you have a cosmopolitan locality where you don't have these issues. But yes, you definitely rightly said that masjids can play a pivotal role in revival of everything good about the society. But
Absolutely.
unfortunately, that is being not done. That has to be done by the Islamic scholars, which is unfortunately not being done as of now.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you, Majid Hadri. Masjids, parents, and especially NGOs, who can start BOT, Build, Operate, and Transfer program, to
Exactly.
revive culture and our heritage. I thank you so much, Majid Hadri, for being on Plain Talk with me. It was really an honor to have you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure, dear. Thank you. Thank you. So nice of
You
you.
have a lovely time ahead. Bye.
Thank you.
Alright, guys, this was Majid Hadri on the Plain Talk First. Next on the podcast, we have with us Bilal Bashir Bhat. He is a journalist by profession. Let's welcome him. Bilal Bashir Bhat, thank you so much for being with me on Plain Talk. It's really, really an honor to have you on my show.
Thanks for having me, Muzamil. First of all, I would like to congratulate you for being the first podcaster from Kashmir and choosing the topics which are very significant in nature.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Bilal, my very important question to you. How much do you realize the netizens in Kashmir are only limited to sharing non serious content which is available on the social media?
Yes, of course. There is a need of to develop an idea of seriousness among our youth.
Mm-hmm.
We are actually losing the spirit of seriousness, and which has undoubtedly diverted our focus from various aspects and issues pertaining to our society.
Mm-hmm.
We have many issues like drug abuse, poverty, dowry system, favoritism, nepotism, casteism.
Mm-hmm.
We rarely talk on these issues. As such, I once again appeal to the youth and who are listening this program to concentrate on grave issues, to raise issues rather than being indulging fake and fabricated, concocted stories.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what do you think, as a journalist, and working in the field of journalists from so many years now, what do you think is the reason behind, behind the blind sharing of content? People these days don't understand the content. People these days don't even see the content, but they jump into conclusions while sharing the content. What is happening? What is the reason behind?
Well, there are many reasons of it.
Mm-hmm.
But as I said, that there is a lack of seriousness among the youth.
Mm-hmm.
We are deprived from giving the thoughts to our to the occasions. Usually, what we should do. As such, we see that only the videos which are funny in nature
Mm-hmm.
are being shared and spread all over, and this should be stopped at somehow. For this, we need an awareness drive. The people with high intellect should come forward to aware people and youth what are the bad uses of using this futile exercise.
Mm-hmm. I totally understand. But if you will ask a person like me, I would say, fun on internet is okay. And there are a lot of people like me who would say, this is okay. So how do you justify that? Are you precisely talking and pointing, about the political content, which is right now doing rounds on social media?
In my opinion, I guess that the people of Kashmir, especially the youth, are very mature by
Mm-hmm.
means of politics.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, from the last few months, even the 4G was barred in Kashmir.
True.
We saw the wide and massive share of funny content. Like sometimes we criticize a person and we criticize a person undue,
Mm-hmm.
and it serves its purpose.
I understand. I understand. So, Mr. Bhat, you are saying that there are a lot of serious issues, other issues, where we should throw our light, where we
Yes,
should
of
ponder
course,
upon,
there are many
where we
issues.
should discuss. But unfortunately, we love to do satire. We love to do other activities which are not so important in nature. Is that correct?
Yes, of course. No, satire is something good, but
Mm-hmm.
we are not using the satire in a proper way.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
We share only we have make some concocted stories,
Mm-hmm.
and some fictitious personalities are being promoted in a systematic manner, so that the people, especially the youth, are deprived from getting attention of the political issues or societal issues.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I totally understand with you. All right, Mr. Butt, let me move on to my next question. This is something which is related to the grievance cell, which has been set up by the government. How do you see the response, of the public issues and the public grievances, uh, which comes out from the LG's office?
Setting up of a grievance cell is indeed a good step, and it should be appreciated. I remember that uh, the tenure of recent Lieutenant Governor of Kashmir,
Mm-hmm.
Jammu and Kashmir, Mr.
Mm-hmm.
Moon, it was set up. But unfortunately, it's my personal observation that there comes nothing. Sometimes we tag bureaucrats and the concerned heads of the related departments. They give no response. As such, they only respond to the people who are verified by
Mm-hmm.
Twitter or Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
So bureaucrats should also keep a vigil on the grievances of the people.
I have to agree with you partially, on this for this answer. All right. So I asked this question to Majid as well, who's also on the line. So I just wanted to ask this question to you: what is the modus operandi you see in bringing the seriousness among the youth, and what would be your message for the masses in Kashmir, as a journalist, as a youth yourself, and as a respectable person of this society? What is your message for every one of us?
A responsibility lies upon every youth,
Mm-hmm.
whosoever is using internet. And in our part of the world, I guess every person is using internet, especially the youth.
Mm-hmm.
there should be a total boycott of such content on social media, which we are sharing, massively sharing, and using WhatsApp and other means of communication. This should be stopped and boycotted because there are many other, as I said, there are many other issues pertaining to our society.
Like drug menace in the society.
Yes, exactly. Drug. We have dowry system, casteism,
Absolutely.
and we should talk about on these issues. And I congratulate you. For the first time, I see some people like you are touching this unnoticed issue.
That's what my job is, and that's what I have learned in my during my studies, and I'm sure I will continue to do that. And this is the series where we are only and only talking about Kashmir. Bilal, Bashir, Bhat, thank you so much for being with me on Plain Talk, and I hope to see you again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. You have a lovely time ahead.
Thank you.
Alright, guys, that's all from today's episode. We will be back with another one soon. And hey, you can also support my podcast by logging on to patreon.com/MMP. Thank you so much, and you have a great time ahead. This is your host, Muzunul Mabul, signing off from Plain Talk.